Hey, what's happening? My name is Marengula. Happy Thursday, and here are your news updates. The United States has warned the South African government of a possible terror attack this weekend in Sandton. Zimbabwe is on track to yield its largest wheat harvest ever, and a lawyer in Florida died in the most ironic of circumstances. Let's get right into it. It's Mzansi in 5. Let's start off with Florida, where a 60-year-old Ron Smith, an attorney who had spent the better part of a decade fighting against helmet laws in the state, died in a motorcycle accident with his girlfriend as a passenger while not wearing a helmet. Smith and his girlfriend were on their way to a funeral when Smith reportedly lost control of their bike while slowing down for the traffic. The motorcycle crashed into a truck and both of them died of blunt head trauma. As an attorney, Smith represented clients who had been caught violating Florida's motorcycle safety laws. And in some cases, experts say he may have helped overturn the state's mandatory helmet law. Look, this isn't sexy, but we still do it so we can get home to our families or PlayStations. Even gangsters put on their seatbelts.
Thug life.
What?
Thug life.
No seatbelts?
Not for me.
Hey, man.
Thugging it.
Hey. Tupac was one of the biggest thugs I know, and he always wore his seatbelt.
That's a good point. That's a real good point.
The point I'm trying to make is that if we as drivers and passengers of vehicles that weigh an average of 1.3 tons with metal protection on all four sides are willing to put our lives in the hands of a belt, then you should definitely wear your helmet. Because at the end of the day, when you're on a motorcycle, you only have three things protecting you. And that's your helmet, a jacket, and Jesus. Or whatever religion you subscribe to, whether it's a dragon, fairies, or Bitcoin. And no one ever really talks about the psychological or emotional implications that the truck driver will have to deal with after witnessing two people collide into his vehicle and dying in front of him. So please use your head and put on a helmet. Moving on. The United States Embassy has warned the South African government of a potential terrorist attack in Sandton this weekend. According to News 24, a terrorist group linked to ISIS is potentially targeting the Gay Pride Parade and a theater show by Jewish comedian Nick Rabinowitz in the Sandton area. And to be honest, as a South African, I wouldn't be surprised if these terrorists were hijacked and robbed before arriving in Sandton. Or their bomb doesn't even go off because of load shedding. And look, I'm obviously making light of what could be a potentially devastating and serious situation. We haven't had a terrorist attack in my lifetime. But the UK, Canadian, French, and Australian embassies have also issued warnings with regards to this potential attack. So please, be careful, be safe, and maybe avoid Sandton this weekend. Everything is overpriced there anyways. A 7,000 Rand steak. I'd rather buy the cow. And finally, good news for Zimbabweans as the country is on the brink of its biggest wheat harvest in its history. This is mostly due to the nation's efforts to overcome food supply problems caused by the war in Ukraine. Like many African countries, Zimbabwe has been dependent on importing food to offset its low local production. So how did a country with beautiful weather and lots of land become dependent on importing food from Europe? Well, in the year 2000, former President Robert Mugabe seized farms from white commercial farmers who had gotten them during colonial times. It was a very controversial land reform program and distributed them to new black owners, who unfortunately lacked the capital to continue operating these farms. This led to a decline in agricultural output, which forced the country to look abroad for alternatives. So, for the last 22 years, Zimbabwe has imported 40% of its wheat from Russia. This obviously became problematic when the conflict between Russia and Ukraine began. Sorry, I meant to say when Russia decided to invade Ukraine. Now, particularly because bread is a staple food in Zimbabwe, and you need wheat to make bread. You get it. Now, the country expects to harvest 380,000 tons of wheat, which is 20,000 tons more than they actually need, which means the country will be able to start having food reserves for the first time since 1967. Good for you, Zimbabwe. I'm happy when other African countries can prosper. All right, thank you so much for watching. My name is Marengula, and this has been Mzansi in 5.